So Ukraine is waging a diplomatic offensive, not just to woo the global south, but also to convince its biggest ally in this war, the United States of America. Turns out all is not well between the two partners. For months, Ukraine has been asking for fighter jets, but Washington has refused. So now Ukraine has started a pressure campaign. It has roped in Europe, and it's finding support there. The idea is to put pressure on the US and force it into giving Ukraine what it wants. The effort began this week. Zelensky hopped around key European capitals. Everywhere he went, he asked for fighter jets. Italy and the UK were on board. Germany remained non-committal. France agreed, even offered to train Ukrainian pilots.
We have opened the door to training the pilots.
In France? Ukrainian pilots in France?
And we're doing this with several other European countries which are ready, and talks are ongoing with the Americans.
London is willing to push the needle even further. They announced an international coalition, an alliance to help Ukraine get F16s. That's an American warplane, remember, F16.
Yes, look, we are going to be a key part of the coalition of countries that provides that support to Vladimir and Ukraine. Now, it is not a straightforward thing, as Vladimir and I have been discussing, to build up that fighter combat aircraft capability. It's not just the provision of planes, it's also the training of pilots and all the logistics that go alongside that. Now, the UK can play a big part of that.
Who else is part of this coalition? Reports say the Netherlands and Belgium. Just like France, they're willing to train Ukrainian pilots. Denmark, too, is said to be involved in the discussions, but we're not sure if they're formally part of this coalition. In the past, though, they have expressed willingness to share their F-16s with Ukraine. So it sounds like the pieces are finally falling in place. But there's a small hiccup. Who would Ukraine get these planes from? Like I said before, the F-16 is an American plane. It is built by a company called Lockheed Martin, an American company. Several NATO countries use this plane. So Ukraine can get it from two sources, either the United States directly or one of its NATO allies. Now, so far, Washington has refused to share these jets. So Ukraine is depending on its European partners. They would like Europe to share the F-16s with them. But even that is complicated. You see, for any third-party transfer, you need permission from Washington. So unless America agrees, this transfer cannot happen. Listen to what the British Defence Secretary said today.
We can do what we've done throughout this, and Germany has been doing this with us in the International Donor Coordination Cell in Ramstein, which is we can enable other people who wish to. So if Boris is right, this is up to the White House to decide whether it wants to release that technology.
So where does Biden stand on this? He hasn't said yet. A few months back, the Pentagon was asked about this. A senior official said, "I don't think we're opposed." Those were his words. At the same time, he also said that a decision has not been made yet. So the US has avoided the issue so far, but it'll soon have to make up its mind. Important meetings are lined up in the weeks and months ahead, where this issue is expected to be discussed. The G7 summit this week, for instance, or the NATO summit in July. So America will have to decide sooner rather than later. Why are they hesitating, though? Why won't the US share F-16s with Ukraine? Because it wants to avoid a direct conflict with Russia. If Ukraine gets the F-16s, Putin will have another reason to escalate this war. And who knows, Moscow may see American and European targets as fair game. And that's the scenario that the US is trying to avoid. Same with Germany. Here's what their defense minister said.
I'm not a person who adheres to never-isms. I can't say today for certain that today's answer will not be a different one in 3 years. It is all a question of circumstance, of course. At this moment, we are not there yet, and we have not changed our position on this.
That may give Joe Biden some breathing room, but the issue will not die anytime soon, because Ukraine won't stop trying.